Yes, this is fire.
It may take effort sometimes, need not.
Conscious practice. What's conscious? This is Vish, and today I'll be responding to Sadhguru's video on success with sadhana. This is V. I'm an aspiring yogi, love all things meditation, wisdom, and yoga based. Super grateful to have you watching this with me. So sadhana, as I know of it, is really just your spiritual practices. And I've actually been doing a bunch daily, about 2 to 3 hours a day through Sadhguru himself. So I would love to hear what he has to say about this. And so let's get straight into the video.
There are two fundamental aspects or forces acting within every human being. One is the force of self-preservation. The instinct of self-preservation is constantly striving to build walls of protection around yourself. And the longing to become boundless is constantly striving to push you beyond the boundaries in which you exist.
Look at the way how stoned he seems.
It is these two which are finding variety of expression, either in the form of accumulation or in the form of every kind of desire that one can throw up, is essentially the play of these two forces. Once you make the mistake of identifying yourself with something limited, the instinct of self-preservation wins, hands down, to a point it almost makes it looks like the other force doesn't even exist. So the essence
this
of
is interesting.
working towards success in one's sadhana is, all sadhana is essentially aimed towards expanding the limitations, breaking the boundaries of one's energy. When your energies are longing to become boundless, in your thought and emotion, if you're identified with limited things around you, then you will create an unnecessary tussle between the two forces. The secret of success is that these two should become one. Unless these two things become one, you do not have enough energy to break the limitations of the present dimension, to break the boundaries of present dimension, because now whatever you have is split. It is trying to tug you in two different directions. It will become a journey of one step forward, one step backward, one step forward, one step backward. If you're doing one step forward, one step backward, it's very clear you are not intending to go anywhere. Maybe it's good exercise, but you're not intending to go anywhere. Once you're identified with the limitations of your own body, what you refer to as extended body, extensions of your body are family, house, it's not… you should not have them. Having a body and being identified with is different. Similarly, having a family and being identified with it is very different. Once you're identified with it, naturally your whole system works towards building a wall around this identity, not allowing one to expand or to break the barriers of who he is right now. Shankara laments, Kate Kanta Danagad Chinta, which means once you're identified with your family relationships, you can only naturally think of money and property and this and that. You cannot think of anything else. Don't give yourself the thing, oh yes, I have become like this only because of my family. No, you have not become like this because of your family. Because you're like this, your family has become like that. Don't get it the other way around. It is the way you identify yourself with it, that
Great
certain things are
perspective shift
happening.
right here. Truly great.
Nothing outside of us is a barrier. It is the way we hold it, the way we carry the outside within ourselves is the barrier. If your energies are split, one trying to build walls, another trying to break walls, it is a tussle, it is a wasteful way of living. If you dedicate everything to building walls, at least you may build a great wall of India. I'm sorry, the Chinese have the greatest wall, I think. Or if you put all your energies towards breaking boundaries, that will definitely happen. There are old barriers, walls which were built elsewhere, which may take a little bit of time to break. But the important thing is that you're not building new walls. Old walls can be made to crumble, but the problem is the new walls that are coming up every day. This is not something that you have to do consciously. Once you have a limited identity, everything in you builds walls. There is no other way. So sadhana is pushing you in one way. If your mind is pegged down to limited things, you're unnecessarily creating a tension in the system. So it's very important. It's like you tied up your boat and you're rowing it hard. Good exercise again, but you're not going anywhere. If you untie the rope, even if you do not row, slowly, with the pace of the river at least you will go. Spiritual journey need not be effortful, it just needs to be sensible. But to come to sense,
Yes, this is fire.
it may take effort sometimes. Need not, but it may.
Success with sadhana. Let me know what you thought before I share my response to this in the comments down below right now. So here's some quick background with regards to the sadhana practices that I do. So I got initiated into inner engineering, which is Shambhavi Mahamudra, January of 2021. So we're approaching over a year now, a year and a few months, change, a few pockets of change, coins, that is, of completing or practicing, that is, the practice of Shambhavi Mahamudra. So I've been doing that every single day ever since the initiation. In addition, I've tagged along Shunya, Shakti Chalana Kriya. I've tagged along Buddha Shuddhi. I've tagged along Surya Shakti, Upayoga, and That's it. Yeah. It's quite a bit though, I'll be honest. It takes me about 2 to 3 hours a day, which I dedicatedly do the practices. Now, this one is a little, I would say, deep as well, in terms of what he was saying with the sadhana and how to make it more successful. Maybe I'm just not there with my level of awareness or consciousness, so we'll leave it open to that. But what I did interpret and was able to grasp was that it really comes down to a very simple, I think, line that he mentioned, which is you don't want to be taking a step forward and then taking a step back, because then you're not moving. As he says in a funny way, I love the way he incorporates humor into his talks. Then you're just going to have a good workout. I can kind of relate to an extent, and I think one example of maybe what he could be talking about, just opening up to possibilities here with my limited interpretation here, is let's just say you start doing these practices. But as you start doing these practices, you become so identified with the spirituality itself and the organization that itself is new walls being put onto you. And your identity basically becomes an Isha practitioner or whatever other meditation or spiritual path that you're following. And I guess another example, just to prove my point, is let's just say someone says, this practice is useless. And then you become so defensive about, let's say, engineering. No, it does this, it does that. Notice you've just identified yourself with another part of it. So I think it's really critical here, and I love the advice to not create new walls as you're taking those down, which is what dissolving really comes down to. As you're doing these practices, it's really just cleansing yourself of these karmic impressions. But now the key again is to make sure you don't create new ones. So I think that's where you got to be especially careful. I think Sadhguru talks about it, Eckhart Tolle talks about it. The moment you start creating this new identity while dissolving the old identity, having like a spiritual identity by itself is actually very dangerous. It kind of becomes like a religion then. So just be really cautious and conscious with that. And yeah, I mean, to prove exactly what I'm saying, it comes down to imagine someone that's so identified with their spirituality, their practices, that they will do anything to defend. They'll argue, they'll fight, they'll cry to support, back up their practices. Is that really going to be doing any benefit to you? Probably not. Now the key here is to realize that just because, this is from my experience, you're not seeing certain results happen the way you've heard or you think they should be from the sadhana or the spiritual practices, that doesn't mean that it's not working. So just be aware of that. And I think a huge part of my personal recommendation to you all doing any practice is to unconditionally do it. Unconditionally doing it will help you dissolve essentially all the barriers. Thank you so much for taking this time and watching this video with me. I truly appreciate you taking this time. If you have any other video reaction topics or videos that you want to see me respond to, comment down below. With that, make it a great day. Take this joyful and stay conscious. Ecstasy.